Hari Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. Om. Well, welcome to the Bhagavad Gita class. We are going through Shankara Bhashyam, wherein we had seen as to why Shankaracharya has written this Bhashyam in his own words. Typically, it was, I don't know how relevant it is today, but traditionally, it has been something like whenever a person is about to write a scripture, they have to establish the reason behind writing that scripture. The intent is a scripture should not be a redundant one. It has to definitely address something unique, as we saw in the 6 lakshans of what a good scripture is. And hence, the introductions are written, and we are going to be completing the introduction today. So, Shankaracharya established that God created this world in which dual kind of existence is there. One which is in an unmanifested form, the Sad as in existence, the Chit as in Chaitanyam, and Anantam as in that which has no beginning or end. That is the concept of the one of the type of existence, and the other type of existence was the manifested type of existence. The manifested type of existence, which is what we are experiencing here today, right, in the form of Naresh, or in the form of the computer, or in the form of a country, whatever you are talking about, right? So that is the manifested form of existence. The manifested form of existence has a dependence on the unmanifested form of existence. And the unmanifested form of existence is independent. There is no dependence on the manifested form of existence. When this manifested form of existence was created, Bhagavan also laid down the way of life called as pravritti dharma and nivritti dharma. The path of life in which we strive for progress, which is material upliftments, which is what we are all doing today. And the second one is nivritti dharma, in which the renunciation of attachments to the worldly things is given a prominence. And further, Acharya had said that this two type of dharma was going pretty well till some time when the adharma started to take root and spread directly into this world. When the adharma spread, the brahmanatvam is the word that he had used, which we had interpreted as the Vaidika way of living, the Vedic way of living, right? So that was impacted. In order to restore dharma and once again give a push to the Vedic way of life, Lord Krishna took birth and he gave the Upadesha to Arjuna. Going further, we are going to look at the next set of words from Acharya. Kim cha anyadapi tatraiva uktam. Naiva dharmi nacha adharmi na chaivahi shubha ashubhihi. शुभाशुभिः यः स्यात् एकासने लीनः तूष्णीं किञ्चित् अचिन्तयन् ज्ञानं संन्यासलक्षणम् इति च. So here Shankaracharya is talking about the path to moksha. Kim cha anyad api. And what else was also said, uktam tatraiva, thereupon, therein it has been said. We were talking about Anugita, wherein Shankaracharya said that this concept has also been emphasized in Anugita, which comes later during the Ashwamedha Parva. Right? So, kim cha anyadapi tatraiva uktam, naiva dharmi na cha adharmi. Right? Na chaivahi shubham ashubhihi. Those who are doing good or bad, are following dharma, or they are in the adharma path. Yaha syad. It is immaterial. Even an adharmi can do it. Yaha syad ekasane leenah. One who is going to sit with a single focused mind. Now, this needs to be really understood from the chapter 2 point of view. In chapter 2, Bhagavan will say about Stitha Prajna Lakshana. Right? The question that Arjuna will ask is also, how will he sit? How will he walk? How will he speak? Is the way that he asks. How does this the Stitha Prajna do these things? The term sit is how you are composed given a situation, how you act in a given situation. Right. So when we are talking about walking, that is what it means. So here, yaha syat ekasane leenah does not mean that the way that they show it in the TV or in the media today, wherein they close the eyes, sit under a tree and fully grown beard and all those stuff. No. Here, ekasane leenah is where he is not wavering. Let us look at our own selves. Are we sitting in one position, or are we always moving around? When a situation is coming, you will see that your mind is having a lot of vikshepa. It continues to move around, continues to shake. And those who are going into the leadership position, for them, that focus will be much higher. It is not going to be absolute. It is not going to be ekasane leenah, but the vikshepam will be lesser, right? Typically. And there are exceptions, right? There may be somebody who is not in the leadership position and yet has the focus absolutely. And there may be people in the leadership who have a lot of vikshepam. But typically, the pravritti marga as well as moksha marga has the ekasane leenah as a characteristic, which is focused mind. Then tushnim kinchit achintyayan. Silently, quietly he sits without thinking of anything else. This again, we will connect it to the Sthita Prajna Lakshana in the second chapter, and we will discuss about it at length there. Jnanam sannyasa lakshanam iti cha. Right? Jnanam, the knowledge, is and sannyasam, renunciation, are the means for the moksha, for the ultimate, liberation. That is what Acharya says here. Further, what is this? So here he qualifies what he has claimed by giving a quote that comes in Bhagavad Gita. Actually, this is the last shloka of Bhagavad Gita. Right. So, iha apicha ante uktam arjunaya. This is what Sri Bhagavan Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna in the end, ante uktam. Right, towards the end, this is what he says. And what does he say there? He says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja iti. In this way, he says. Right. It's a very beautiful shloka. When we are in the 18th chapter, we will look at it. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyah mokshayishyami ma shuchah is the way that shloka will go. 66th shloka. Right. So he is qualifying what Acharya has explained, giving a quote from Bhagavad Gita, the text that we will be studying for the years to come. Going further, here Acharya is going to go into the pravritti lakshan. Abhyudayartha api yah, for the purpose of prosperity, material prosperity, success in the worldly life, even which pravritti lakshano dharmo, the dharma characterized by material advancement. Those are all the yajnas that we talk about, upasanas that we talk about. All those are pravritti lakshana dharma, which is characterized by varnashraman cha uddhishya vihitah, as prescribed in the varnashrama dharma. Sa devadisthanam prapta hetuhu. So when you are in the pravritti lakshana, the position that you attain are heavens, the upper worlds, by following the path of dharma. Apisan Ishwararpanam Buddhaya, even though the pravritti marga is for going to the higher world, if the same is performed with Ishvara Arpana Buddhihi, which is what is Karma Yoga. Right? Anushkiyamanaha is following it. Right? Ishvara Arpana Buddhaya, that is what is the most important thing. Whatever we are doing, being in Pravritti Marga is not wrong, or is not downgraded or degraded, or it doesn't have a path to moksha. Bhagavan will also say that in Bhagavad Gita throughout. Right? There are several places where he emphasizes it. And there is a place where he will say it is exactly the same. To that point, they will emphasize that the pravritti marga and nivritti marga are not, what do you say, two different paths leading to two different end results. But in the pravritti marga, what is your objective is what we have to keep in mind. If your objective is moksha, then you should follow that pravritti marga with the Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, surrendering all the actions as well as the fruits of the action to God and taking it as a prasad, whatever comes to you. Taking it as a scope of your responsibility for whatever comes to you. If it is poverty, yes, it is poverty, and that poverty is my responsibility. When you have that intent, while you are performing everything dedicated to God, then the end result for both are going to be the same. However, here Acharya puts the other aspect as well, right? Sattva shuddhaye bhavati. He becomes one with a purified mind. Phalabihi sandhi varchitah. Right? He is devoid of attachment to the fruits of actions. Karma phalam becomes nothing to him. As I said, it is not like he is not going to accept the karma phalam. Resisting is also a form of accepting. Right? So we need to understand in Shastra, when I'm going to resist something, it means I have accepted. If I'm going to be not performing any action, it means I am performing the action of not performing an action. The Shastra is very strict with that. So when we say that he is devoid of attachment to the fruits of actions, what it means is whatever the fruits of actions I get, I accept it into the sphere of my responsibility of Kshetra Paripalana. I am not attached to it in the sense if I lose, it doesn't affect me. right? But I will not voluntarily lose it. All the things that I need to do to take care of that, I will take care. So it is not like I'll just leave the door open and walk away, right? I will take that which I am supposed to do. I will do that which I am supposed to do. I will take that responsibility towards that which I am supposed to take. What I will not have is the attachment in my mind towards it. If it goes, it goes. It's okay, right? I don't have it now. As simple as that. Let us say I become extremely poor, and while taking the class, this laptop just fails, falls down. I don't have another laptop, right? So I will not be able to take class. That's about it. Maybe somebody like Prabhakar or Sham or Jyoti may suddenly see, oh no, this is what has happened. They may rush and they may come and give me the laptop so that I can take the class again. And then I'm back into taking the class. When that comes, I will accept it and I will take the same care that I have taken the previous laptop also. It is not going to differ, but my attachment to either the Kriya or the material possessions that are with me today will not change. That is the meaning of the Varjitaha Samdihi Phalabihi, right? Karma Phalabihi Samdihi, right? So devoid of it is what this place Acharya emphasizes. Further, he says, Shuddha Sattvasya, with the purity of mind that was established, Cha Jnana Nishtha Yogyatha Prapti Dvarena. This was the second step that I was telling that we will be moving towards, which is by following this marga, right? By following the path of renouncing the attachment towards everything, be it in the pravritti marga or in the nivritti marga, with the jnana nishtha yogyata, means you will get a qualification for you to attain this gyan. What is this gyan? I can give it to you right away. Aham brahmasmi, tattvamasi. Right, that is all. Those three words. That is what is gyan. But E is equal to mc square. Did you understand? Right. The fact is you might not have. 99.9 percentage of the time, people won't understand what the E is equal to mc square is. Right. So that is exactly the sense of Aham Brahmasmi or Tattvamasi too. Right. For you to be able to understand, you must have acquired the necessary qualification. And this necessary qualification for Atma Gyan is Shuddha Sattvasya. Right? So the Shuddha Sattvatvam is what is the qualification. You attain that qualification by evolving yourself into renouncing the attachments. Because desires shield you from being able to go inwards towards the subject. It keeps you outward towards the object. Jnana utpatti hetutvena. Because this jnana nishtha yogyata will enable you to acquire the knowledge. Right? So they say that, there is in tradition, they talk of somebody, a person who was totally an adharmic fellow, he, what do you say, goes into the process of hearing somewhere about Aham Brahmasmi. Like just now I told you, you heard of Aham Brahmasmi. If not, you have not heard it before. But as soon as you get this Jnana Nishtha, then you immediately become eligible for the Atma Jnan, and this Aham Brahmasmi will shine in you as a knowledge. Remember, it is not an acquired knowledge, rather it is a realized knowledge. That realization will happen within you. Cha Nishreyasa Hetutvam. And for sure, it is going to be bringing best of the prosperities. Api pratipadyate. Pratipadyate, api is also, pratipadyate is brings eligibility to acquire, right? The object is knowledge as a means of moksha. So here we can say api pratipadyate, either directly attaching it to moksha or attaching it to jnana utpatti hetuhu, which is jnana nishtha yogyata. Whichever way we want, we can put it. Tatha cha imam eva artham abhisandhaya vakshyati brahmani adhaya atma shuddhaye. The three dots emphasizes from brahmani adhaya to atma shuddhaye. Right? This is what Bhagavan is bringing to our knowledge in the shloka. This verse comes in the 5th chapter, 10th shloka and the 11th shloka. So in these two shlokas, what Bhagavan is emphasizing is this value, iti. Right. The shloka goes like this. Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yah lipyate na sa papena padmapatramivambhasa kayena manasa buddhya kevalairindriyairapi yoginah karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva shuddhaye. So in this shloka, this is what gets established, is what Acharya puts it here. Imam dviprakaram dharmam nishreyasa prayojanam. This two kinds of dharma definitely brings the results, prayojan. That is a very common word that is used, the benefit. Paramartha tattvam cha Vasudevakhyam Parabrahma. This supreme reality, Paramartha, which is the one singular God, the Parabrahma, Tattvam, the essence of Vasudevakhyam Parabrahma. Vasudevakhyam is known as Vasudeva, who is himself the Parabrahma, Abhideya Bhutam, that which is the object or focus existing as Visheshatah Abhivyancha, especially or specifically is Visheshatah, Abhivyancha is expressed, revealed. Yad Vishishta Prayojanam, that special benefit, Abhideyavat Gita Shastram, bringing significance in being expressed, Abhideyavat, as though it is being completely provided in Gita Shastram. That is what this place means. Yataha tadharte vijñate, for the purpose, because when realized or when understood, samastha, all, complete in totality, purushartha siddhi, there is a attainment, achievement of the purpose of life. Generally, purushartha means dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Right? Here, the last one, which is moksha prapti, is the emphasis. Atha, therefore, tad vivarane, to explain that, or to elucidate that, to analyze that, yatna kriyate maya. This effort, which is to write the Bhashyam, is made by me. This is how Acharya expresses. One, he says that this Bhagavad Gita has certain complex expressions. Right? For example, karmani yaha akarmani paschet, akarmani cha karma yaha. Right? So, which says the one who sees action in inaction and in inaction sees action. Very contradictory. Right? Matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham peshvavastitah nacha matsthani bhutani. Right? First he said matsthani bhutani. Now he says nacha matsthani. No, it is not there, no existence. Like this, there are conflicting and what do you say, words which can be misunderstood. So those kind of words are there in Bhagavad Gita. They have been very accurately presented, but they have also been presented in a absolutely opposite way or totally wrong manner as well. So there is a bit of confusion in expressing this deep benefit in the society. And believe me, that is even today. Right. So you can write as much as you want. And that is why after Shankaracharya wrote on Shankaracharya, there are so many tikas and tipnis. There are other big, what do you say, books that have been written to explain what Acharya is saying. And there are, what do you say, other paramparas, right, which is, Ramanuja has written a Bhashyam on Bhagavad Gita, right? We have seen that afterwards, right, when we were talking of, I think Sri Bhattar also has written a Bhashyam. I have not read or I have not seen it, right? So there are several people who have written Bhashyam, commentaries and tikas and tipnis and so many texts that has been written on Bhagavad Gita. And there is more as well because of the sukshmatvam, which is very subtlety in the Shastra. And more than that, it is also to be understood with the contemporary changes, right? So today, when Acharya wrote, there was no computer, there was no AI, right? There was no other means. It was through, what is a personal touch with Guru that this Shastra was learned. Now the world has changed, right? The way that the interpretations are there, what I'm talking right now, can be very easily re-verified in an AI tool or something of that sort, and you can try to challenge it more also. The whole world has changed, but Bhagavad Gita is for eternity. Even if the world changes totally 100% from what we are today, right, this Bhagavad Gita will still be applicable. It is that beautiful, which you will get to know when we get into the Upadesha aspect of it from the second chapter, 11th shloka. But for now, we can say that Acharya has put in this effort to write this Bhashyam in order to clarify the doubts that one may have with respect to what Bhagavad Gita says. And here I am going to put a similar effort to align it to the contemporary world and bring what the essence of Bhagavad Gita is on the same line and on the same path as Shankaracharya. Right. So I may be touching upon some of the Vaishnavic, Visishtadvaitic or Advaitic kind of traditions in terms of questions and answers, but predominantly my focus will be on the Advaitic traditions. Right. So that is what is going to be the conclusion of the introduction by Shri Shankaracharya. Hari Om. Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Prathamodhyayah. This chapter is called as Arjuna Vishadha Yoga. We started with Atha Prathama Adhyaaya. Atha is now, thereafter, or henceforth. Traditionally, for most of the Shastras, we have seen Brahma Sutra, for example. It starts with Athatho Brahma Jignasa. Right. So this Atha is a traditional way of starting something significant. This is also used when we transition into a deeper subject. Right. So that is why we will have Athadvitiyodhyayah, Tatritiyodhyayah. So when there is a transition, then also it is used, which doesn't happen in Brahma Sutra. But Then we start something significant. It is traditional to use Atha. Similar to Om, in Sanskrit literature, this is considered as a Mangala Vachanam, an auspicious word. Similar to Om, the sound Atha also invokes positivity, seriousness, and a sense of sacredness to what is being uttered. So, hence, every chapter in Bhagavad Gita starts with Atha. Prathama is a numerical order. There are 18 chapters. They are numerically, numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Though that is not the actual number. We have seen that earlier. Right. But because Bhagavad Gita is taken as a separate chapter, this is considered to be the first Adhyaaya. Prathama means first. Adhyaaya. Adhyaya means a chapter in English. It is used in structured teachings. But it is just not Adhyaya that is used. There are several other terms that are used in the Vedic traditions. Sargaha is again used for subsections or chapters within a bigger book. Kandaha, Yuddha Kandam, etc. They are books or sections within a large composition, right? Like Parva, that is used in Mahabharata. Kanda is used in Ramayana, right? Remember, Kanda and Khanda are two different words. Khanda is used with respect to chapters. Kandam is used with respect to sections. Then Valli. Valli is again an organic section of chapters. There are other Vedic terms as well. For example, Prashna. Prashna means question, but it is used specifically in Prashna Upanishad. So the chapter is divided into Prashna. Then Khanda. Khanda is again chapters, right? Then Samhita is again chapters or sections, right? Mundakam is used specific to Mundaka Upanishad, right? Then in text, there are so many things, Ashtakam and, you know, uh, what is it called? For 5, I forgot. Right. So, eh, Panchakam, sorry, there you go. So, Panchakam and so on. There are several ways that the divisions are made, and those divisions are expressed here. Yoga was the next word. Arjuna Vishada Yoga. We will go to Yoga first. Yoga comes from the word yuj, to unite. So basically, because all of these chapters are contributing for you to unite with the Supreme, each of these chapters are suffixed with the word yoga. Arjuna Vishada. Arjuna, we know, the warrior Arjuna. Vishada is dejection, sorrow, despair, or depression. So Arjuna Vishada Yoga means the chapter that deals with dejection, sorrow, despair, depression, the samsara of Arjuna. And that is what this one removes, this one cures, and hence the first chapter should be considered equally important. However, Shankaracharya has not given any commentary to the first chapter. He directly goes to the 10th shloka in the second chapter. But this gives us an opportunity where we can go into the background a little deeper. Right? I used to tell stories and other things during the Vishnu Sahasranama classes or even otherwise to the children here, right? When they were very young. Nowadays, they don't even sit down to listen. But when they were young, those kind of stories were all told. And that could be because in the way that I have learned Bhagavad Gita, I have been taught to express some kind of the background, which was not known to me. For you, it may be known, it may be a, what do you say, general knowledge, because Mahabharata is not very, what do you say, unknown. But there may be characters that you are not aware of, that you have not really researched into. So we will try to take this moment to go a little deeper into the background with the first chapter, so that we get a sense of the situation. When we get into the second chapter, we can immerse ourselves into it. In fact, after we start a shloka called as Karpanya Dosho Upahata Swabhavaha, we will be calling it out before every class, so that we can align ourselves to the same emotions that Arjuna had, and the stories and details that we will be discussing in the first chapter, which is not mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, but it is traditionally taught, so that it helps us to really feel the way Arjuna might have felt, and make ourselves a vessel into which we can receive this supreme knowledge that Bhagavan is going to share. With this introduction, let us jump into Bhagavad Gita's chapter 1, shloka number 1. Dhritarashtra uvacha धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामकाः पाण्डवाश्चैव किमकुर्वत Sanjaya. The way that we will be teaching this is, we will be going word by word. The reason why we take the meaning of each word is because it allows you the opportunity to create other meanings. If you feel that what Naresh is teaching is not in the right way for you to digest, you can still take the information but create your own essence of it. And if you are at the right time, even challenge what I am trying to say from an Advaitic point of view. When I was learning, one thing that I was told was, do not follow what I have said. That was a shocking thing for me. If you are able to evolve yourself with Bhagavad Gita, then as a teacher, I have been successful. If not, I have just created another follower. Doesn't affect me, but does not help you either. So that was a very eye-opening kind of a statement. And I'm sure those who have been coming to the class will know I always emphasize that go learn it in your own way. I can take you half the distance going exactly the traditional way that I have learned it, so that I'm not going to misguide you. But it is for you to find the remainder of the 50%, because that is a march one has to take by himself or herself. The second thing that I have done is I have tried to put it in anglicized words or sequence. Right? If you look at, it's a poetry. In poetry, the chandas is given more importance than the expression itself. So apple ate I is absolutely an acceptable statement and would mean I ate apple, though it was said as apple ate I in the shloka. So what I have tried to do is, in the next section, break it into an English sentence-based shloka, so that it puts the context in your mind. And then we go into an explanation, and then we deviate into some side stories or other things for the first chapter, and for the till the ninth shloka of the second chapter. After that, we will be going totally into Bhagavad Gita as an Upadesh, and it will be extremely, extremely philosophical, spiritual, and devotional. So, with that introduction, For the first shloka, Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Dhritarashtra, who was the blind king of Hastinapur, King Dhritarashtra, father of Duryodhan, he spoke. Uvacha. Uvacha is spoke. Dharma Kshetre. Kshetra is an area, a field, right? And we will talk about Kshetra in depth in the 13th chapter. Why is it called as a Kshetra? How that Kshetra really works. And we will be using this Kshetra a lot. In this context, what it means is Kshetra, a place where something grows. That is why I said field, like a paddy field or something. Here, dharma field, a field wherein dharma prospers, dharma grows, dharma sustains itself. Right? So, dharma kshetre. The other meaning is in places like Kashi or what is it, Kashi or even Kanyakumari or Madurai, right? We have seen that, particularly Sri Rangam, right? There are so many divine people, great people who have been there. When somebody thinks, the thought also pervades. It just, when I think of something, we tend to think it is for me and it is only inside me and it just goes away after I'm gone. But Shastra feels it the other way around. A thought also travels similar to how the sound travels. That is why if somebody is sick, it is said that go visit them and think good for them, think welfare for them. This thought in itself carries a message, and in the subtle area of life, this gives its contribution. And if a place has been witnessing many, many, many great souls, great thinkers and philosophers, that place in itself becomes holy. Prayagraj or Kashi, right? All these are places which become holy by themselves. And that is also another meaning for Dharma Kshetre. Kurukshetre, the place where the Kul called as Kuru prospers. There is also a place called as Kurukshetra in Uttar Pradesh. Right. So I don't know if it is part of Uttaranchal or any other place now, but it used to be part of Uttar Pradesh, I think. Then Uttar Pradesh was one big place. Samavetaha Yuyutsavaha. Samavetaha means assembled, who have come together. Yuyutsavaha means the warriors. Right? So Dhritarashtra says, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre, in a place called as Kurukshetra, where Dharma is going to sustain itself, the assembled soldiers. And what kind of soldiers? Mamakaha, my sons. Contextually, the army on the side of King Dhritarashtra or King Duryodhan. Right. Pandavaha, the sons of Pandu. Pandu is Dhritarashtra's younger brother, but he was the king prior to Dhritarashtra taking the crown. Kim Akurvata, what did they do? Sanjaya. Oh, Sanjaya. Sanjaya was the charioteer, right? A person who was given a divine eye to see not only the war, but also look into the minds of the warriors, gaining a complete truth. So, if you put it in the English way, Dhritarashtra Uvacha, King Dhritarashtra spoke, Kurukshetre, the place where Kuru dynasty establishes itself, or in the place called as Kurukshetra, Dharmakshetre, place where the righteousness thrives. Yujutsava Samavedaha, having the warriors who are assembled to fight the war, who are Mamakaha, Acha Pandavaha, my children and Pandu's children. Kim Akurvata Sanjaya. What are they doing? Sanjaya. Though I have created the presentation this way, I may not be really reading it through. I will let you read it at your convenience because you have the copy as well. So, what is the meaning that we are going to look into it? Right? There are some variations. In the first 10 days of the war, only a summary was given to Bhishma, was given to Dhritarashtra. Only after Bhishma falls on the 10th day, Dhritarashtra inquires and Sanjaya starts telling it. Now, there are some traditions who say Bhagavad Gita in itself within the Mahabharata started after the 10th day of war. In the actual book of Mahabharata that I have seen, that is not the case. But I have even been taught like that. Right? So traditions do teach it that way. But what is for sure is it took, initially, Dhritarashtra was not even bothered. He knew that Bhishma will just win this war. He will save Hastinapur because that is Bhishma's promise. So he wasn't really asking as many questions. But when he learned about Bhishma Pitama falling, he became very curious. He said, give me more details. And after that, the descriptions of the war that comes in Mahabharata are even more in detail, are in very, very, very great detail. So that is the way that the book goes. However, the way that it is said is in the first 10 days, he was not really listening to it, but after Bhishma fell, that is when Bhagavad Gita started. That is not true. Bhagavad Gita started on the first day of the war. Now the background. Pandavas and Kauravas. They were cousins growing up together. And when they were growing up together, there was big rivalry. So what happens is Pandu will be the king, and when he goes for hunting, he sees a deer which is making love, but he would have heard the sound of the deer and he will shoot the arrow. This kills a Gandharva who curses Pandu that if he approaches a woman, he will die. With sexual intents, he will die. So this really depressed Pandu. He gave up his throne and he took up for Vanavas. He didn't, as in, what do you say, retire or give away the throne. He said he has to go to Vanavas for meditating and calming himself. With his two wives, right? He went for for taking, going into the forest. Because he was so depressed, Kunti Devi approaches Pandu and tells him about the boon that she has from uh, the Rishi Dhruva. So, having heard about this, he says, yes, that's a great idea. Let us have the children. Right? So, that is the way that it goes. We will talk about that in some other shlokas. But the intent here is to say that that is when the children were born, and Yudhishthira was born before, and he was there. One day, and Nakul and Sahadev are born to Madri, the second wife. One day, what happens is Madri will be taking a shower, he gets carried and he tries to approach her and he dies. Madri thinks, she blames herself for what has happened and she takes on Sati. She, what do you say, self-immolates herself with Pandu. With the 5 children, Kunti Devi comes back to Hastinapur, and there the children, the 100 children of Dhritarashtra and the 5 children of Pandu, they grow up together. But there will be a rivalry right from that point. When they get back, and they will be taken to a Lakshagraha, right, where they try to burn them down. This goes into the point of Hastinapur and Indraprastha getting divided. In Indraprastha, when Duryodhan comes, Panchali kind of, insults Duryodhan. For a Kshatriya, it is a real insult because of the magical aspects of the palace that they would have built in Indraprastha. Then they invite them for a dice game, and the Draupadi's humiliation takes place. Then they go on exile for 12 years and 1 year of Ajnatavas. So for 12 years, they are supposed to live in a forest, and for 1 year, they have to live in a hiding. If they get caught within that 1 year, then they will have to start this 12 year of exile process all over again. That is when they go to Virata, the king Virat, that is called as Virata Parva, right? So that is when they go there and they live in hiding. After that, when they come back, Duryodhan refuses to give the kingdom back to Pandava, which is the Indraprastha. There will be negotiations and a final call to the war. A role of a king is protection. A direct participation by king is required when a war is on you, in which you have to protect your own nation. When it is a war for expansion and growth, then I can delegate. Let us say Shyam, Prabhakar, and I are, brothers, right? And Prabhakar is the king. If our kingdom was under an attack, if this kingdom has to be protected, it is the responsibility of Prabhakar to go and fight the war himself, together with Naresh and Shyam, yes. But the one who leads will be Prabhakar. If, however, Prabhakar says, hey, now you try to go and reach out to Indonesia, to Singapore, and try to expand yourself, then he can delegate it. Then he can say, hey, Shyam, go to Indonesia. Hey, Naresh, you go to Singapore, and so on. That is absolutely acceptable. This is the role of a king, as per our Shastra. However, because Dhritarashtra was blind, he was exempt from the requirement of a direct participation by the king when the protection was happening. And hence, the Yuvaraja, the next in succession, Duryodhan, went as a king to lead the war against Pandavas. This may be something that's not very commonly known, so I thought I will bring this as a point here. Then Kshetra. As I said, we will talk about what is a Kshetra in chapter 30. What we need to understand, because we'll be using the term Kshetra Paripalana often, what we need to understand is Kshetra represents a domain that you have created. For example, is India a Kshetra? Yes, it is a Kshetra, right? But it is defined in your mind. It is not defined geographically and all those stuff. It is defined as a concept in your mind. And because it is a concept, it differs when Naresh speaks of India and Prabhakar speaks of India. What we have in our mind about India could be different, but as a common object, it is identified. Okay, that is one thing that we have to understand. It is I who define the Kshetra. The next thing is Kshetra is independent of you. It is dependent on you, but is independent of you. The best example we give is that of a child, a newborn child, or even say 3 months old child, etc. Right? It will not give a damn about you. But if you are not there, the child may not even survive. That is the kind of relationship between Kshetra and you. But again, if the concept of the Kshetra is large, then there will be many people, the Kshetra will still continue to live. Right? Though it continues to die, it will continue to live, is another property of a Kshetra. The next most important thing is our duty towards Kshetra is to nurture, to promote, to give prosperity to it. So that is the important elements of Kshetra that I wanted to highlight. We will talk little things before we reach the 13th chapter. But when we are in the 13th chapter, I will go through the definition of what are all the components that makes a kshetra given in our tradition and in the Shastras. With respect to purpose of life, given what we just discussed today, there are two things we talk about: Dharma Rakshana and Kshetra Paripalana. Now, these two are going to be very deep concepts. So, I will start with the purpose of life. What is Dharma Rakshana? What is Kshetra Paripalana? What is giving, what is birth? Right? How the matter and energy and etc. are not created. Right? What is it? Right? How is it that I was born? Right? That aspect of it, we will try to go a little deeper. And very important aspect of it. This is something that I have spoken earlier as well. Maybe Prabhakar is not aware of it, but this aspect will be a kind of an eye-opener. What is Pitriloka? How is it that the Pitris are coming into picture? If I die, if I get salvation, then to whom am I doing the Shraddha? Right? I do the, Shraddha karma, where for those who have passed away, I do those karma. What is the essence of it? What is the background of it? I think that would be a good start for us to go into the Shastra. This will clear up a lot of doubts that we have in our mind. And without doubt, when you go to learn a scripture, you learn it fully. That will be the objective as we go into our next class. Time is 7:30, so we will close the class here today with Q&As, and then we will jump into Shanti Pat. Prabhakar?
No questions, Naresh.
Sir. Jyoti ji?
Namaste, Guruji. I don't have questions, but Sham wants to have some conversation.
No.
Absolutely. I will definitely call Sham.
All I wanted to mention was Kurukshetra is in Haryana, that's all.
Oh, it's in Haryana, is it? Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks for correction. Yes, it is in Haryana. Yep. My geography is now totally messed up. Thank you.
No worries.
Okay. Well, if that is the case, let us give a break here and we will meet again in our next class. Hari Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnad Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.